Welcome back. I need to tell you about something that happened in Skyrim. Something most people never talk about because the ones who know are already dead or worse. This is about what happens when you are sacrificed to Boethiah. Not when you do the sacrificing. That part is easy. This is about when you are the one on the pillar. When your friend leads you to a shrine in the mountains and everything you thought you knew about trust and loyalty turns to ash in your mouth. This is about Attribution's share, the realm where betrayed souls fight forever in eternal tournaments. This is about the price of being chosen by the Daedric Prince of Deceit. You think the Ebony Mail is a reward. You think becoming Boethiah's champion means power. But there are things waiting on the other side of that ceremonial blade that no amount of armor can protect you from. Things that will reshape you from the inside until you cannot remember what it felt like to be human. And if you genuinely enjoy this kind of dark storytelling, consider subscribing and liking the channel, but only if it truly resonates with you. I remember the weight of the knife in my hand. That detail stays with me, even now. The hilt was warm from someone else's grip, passed to me like it meant something, like it was an honor. They called it the Blade of Sacrifice. Ceremonial ebony, dark as the void between stars. The priestess said I had to use it, that the ritual demanded it, but any blade would have done the job. Any blade could have opened my friend's throat. I met her in Whiterun, years before the sky turned to ash and the civil war ate Skyrim from the inside. She was nobody special at first, just another sellsword looking for coin and a warm bed. We cleared bandits from Valheim towers together, fought our way through Bleak Falls Barrow when I needed that damn claw, saved each other's lives more times than I could count. Trust is a strange thing to build in a land where dragons fall from the sky and the dead walk from their tombs. But we built it anyway, one dungeon at a time, one shared campfire against the cold. She trusted me. That is the part that matters. I reached level 30 somewhere near Riften after putting down a nest of vampires in Broken Fang Cave. The book appeared in my pack the next morning, though I do not remember picking it up. Boethiah's Proving, written in script, that seemed to shift when I was not looking directly at it. The words described a ritual, a test of devotion for those who wanted the Daedric Prince's favour, betrayal as sacrament, murder as prayer. The book spoke of a place in the mountains east of Windhelm, where the sky turns dark even at midday, and the air tastes like copper and smoke. I should have burned the book, should have thrown it in the nearest river and walked away. But Daedric artifacts have a way of calling to you, do they not? The promise of power, of standing apart from the common rabble who grovel before the divines and hope for scraps. I had seen what the Ebony Mail could do, heard stories of champions who wore it and walked through fire unburned, whose enemies choked on poison just for standing too close. The rational part of my mind said it was madness. The rest of me, the part that wanted to matter in a world of gods and monsters, kept reading. The Sacellum of Boethiah sits in the mountains, like a wound in the earth. You follow the road northeast from Windhelm, past the farms and the guard posts, until the path turns to stone and climbs into territory where even the bandits tread carefully. The first thing you notice is the sky. It darkens as you approach, a creeping twilight that has nothing to do with the time of day. The sun is still up, but you cannot see it anymore, just shadow and the smell of old blood. The shrine itself is built on 3 levels, carved into the mountainside like someone tried to hide it but gave up halfway. Burned corpses scatter the ground around the pillar. Some are fresh enough that you can still smell the char. Others are just blackened bones, picked clean by the wind and the crows. The cultists were waiting when we arrived, 2 of them fighting in a crude arena while others watched and cheered. They all wore the same expression, that mix of hunger and devotion you see in people who have given themselves completely to something larger than their own lives. The priestess stepped forward when she saw us. Dunmer woman, face like weathered leather, eyes that had seen too much and cared too little. She asked if I had come to test my mettle, to prove myself before Boethiah. I said yes before I knew what I was agreeing to. The words just fell out of me, like someone else was using my mouth. She smiled then, not kindly. She said I needed to prove my tongue could wield a lie, that I needed to gain someone's trust, lead them to the shrine, make them touch the pillar of sacrifice, and then, when they were trapped and helpless, I needed to kill them with the ceremonial blade she pressed into my palm. I looked at my companion. She was looking at the cultists, hand on her sword hilt, ready for a fight. She trusted me to get us out of there safely. That was the first lie I did not have to speak out loud. We made camp that night in the foothills, far enough from the shrine that the darkness lifted and the stars came back. She asked what we were doing there, what business I had with the Daedric cult. I told her we were investigating, gathering information, that it might lead to treasure or at least a good story. The lie came easily. It frightened me how easily it came. She believed me because why would she not? We had fought together, bled together. I was her friend. Friends do not lie, not about things that matter. The second trip to the Sacellum, I told her I needed her help with something. Just a small favour, I said. Touch this pillar for me, would you? There is supposed to be magic in it. Something that might be valuable if we can unlock it. The cultists were watching us now, a circle of eyes and hungry smiles. She walked up to the pillar without question, put her hand against the stone. The magic took her immediately. Invisible chains that snapped tight around her wrists and ankles, pulling her back against the pillar like it was made of iron instead of stone. She could not move, could not even turn her head. That was when I saw the fear in her eyes, real fear, the kind that comes when you understand you have been betrayed but do not understand why. She said my name. Not a question, not yet. Just my name, like maybe if she said it, I would remember who I was and what we meant to each other. The priestess handed me the blade of sacrifice again. The cultists began to chant, low and rhythmic, a sound that made my teeth ache. Boethiah appeared then, not in body, but in voice. The Daedric Prince spoke through the air itself, words that bypassed my ears and carved themselves directly into my skull. She praised me for my deception, said I had proven my tongue could wield a lie as cleanly as a blade. My friend was still trying to speak, to ask me what was happening, but the magic had stolen her voice. All she could do was stare at me with those wide, terrified eyes. The Prince of Plots told me to finish it, to plant the blade deeply so the waters of her heart would wash over me. Those were the exact words she used, the waters of her heart. I hesitated. That is important to remember. I hesitated. For maybe 3 heartbeats, I stood there with the knife in my hand, looking at the person who had saved my life more times than I deserved, and I almost walked away. Almost threw the blade at the priestess's face and fought my way out of there, consequences be damned. But then I thought about the Ebony Mail, about power, about being chosen by a god, even a twisted one, about being more than just another adventurer who would die forgotten in some cave with a Draugr's axe in their spine. I drove the blade into her throat. It went in easier than you would think. She tried to scream, but the blood filled her mouth too quickly. Her eyes never left mine, not until the light went out of them. The cultists cheered. The priestess nodded with satisfaction. Boethiah laughed, a sound like breaking glass and rending metal. I stood there, with blood on my hands, literally and otherwise, and waited for the guilt to come. It did not come. Not then. That should have been my first warning. The body slumped against the pillar, held up only by the magical chains. Boethiah's voice returned, louder now, more present. She possessed the corpse, animated it like a puppet, made my friend's dead mouth move and speak with the Daedric Prince's words. She said I had passed the first test. Now came the second. I needed to prove myself in combat, to best all the other cultists in battle. Only the strongest deserved to be her champion. Only those willing to cut down everyone between themselves and power deserved the Ebony Mail. The cultists attacked as soon as she finished speaking. 10 of them, maybe 12, all at once. They did not coordinate, did not work together. Each one fought for themselves, trying to be the one who killed me and earned Boethiah's favour. That was their weakness. I let them tear into each other first, used their greed against them, picked off the wounded ones while the strongest exhausted themselves fighting their own allies. The battle did not take long. Blood soaked into the mountain stone, adding to the stains that were already there. More bodies for the pile. When it was over, I stood in a circle of corpses and waited. Boethiah spoke again through my friend's body, still hanging there on the pillar like a grotesque banner. She said I had done well, but the final test remained. Her current champion had grown weak, complacent, unworthy of the Ebony Mail he wore. I needed to go to Knife Point Ridge, northwest of Falkreath, and kill him. Take the armour from his corpse, prove that I was stronger, more ruthless, more deserving. Only then would I truly be her champion. The possessed corpse smiled at me with my friend's face. Boethiah withdrew from it, and the body went limp again, truly dead this time. The magical chains released, and she crumpled to the ground at the base of the pillar. I should have buried her, should have at least said something, offered some kind of final words or apology, but I just turned and walked down the mountain, heading toward Knife Point Ridge and the promise of power that waited there. I did not know then what I know now, did not understand that the sacrifice was not the end but the beginning, that Boethiah does not simply reward her champions and let them walk away. There are prices that come due, debts that must be paid in ways you cannot imagine when you are still breathing and the blood on your hands belongs to someone else. What do you think really happened there, at the pillar? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I would like to know if I am the only one who feels this way about what I did. Knife Point Ridge is a bandit stronghold carved into the Western Mountains, the kind of place where desperate men go to hide from the Empire, or the Stormcloaks, or their own past mistakes. The approach is steep, winding through pine forests that grow thin and twisted the higher you climb. I reached it 3 days after the sacrifice, after walking through Skyrim with my friend's blood still under my fingernails, no matter how many times I scrubbed them raw in icy streams. The bandits died easily. That surprised me at first, how simple it was to cut through them like they were nothing more than training dummies. 12 men with axes and bows, and I went through them without breaking stride. Maybe Boethiah had already changed something in me. Maybe the act of betrayal had opened a door I could not close. Or maybe I was just very, very good at killing, and the guilt that should have slowed my hand had not caught up to me yet. The mine tunnels went deep, past the surface camp and down into the mountain's bones. The air grew hot and close, thick with the smell of iron and old fear. More bandits waited in the darkness, but they were already broken men, hollow-eyed and desperate. They fought like they knew they were going to die. Some of them begged. I did not listen. Boethiah wanted me to be stealthy, to prove I could move like a shadow and strike like a serpent, but I did not care what she wanted anymore. The mask was starting to slip. I was beginning to understand what I had done, what I had become, and the understanding made me reckless. The champion of Boethiah waited in the deepest chamber, surrounded by the last of his guards. I recognized the armor immediately. The Ebony Mail, black as a starless sky, with that strange chainmail that seemed to move on its own even when he stood still. He was a Nord, big and scarred, the kind of warrior who had survived 1,000 fights through nothing but mean stubbornness and the willingness to hit harder than the other man. His eyes were dead though. Whatever fire had earned him, Boethiah's favour had burned out long ago, leaving only ash. He barely fought back. That was the worst part. He raised his sword once, maybe twice, but his heart was not in it. He said something as I drove my blade between his ribs, something about finally being released, about how he had prayed for someone strong enough to kill him. The Ebony Mail came off his corpse easily, still warm from his body heat. I put it on and felt the weight settle across my shoulders like a claim of ownership, like I belonged to something now that would never let me go. Boethiah's voice came to me one last time, speaking directly into my mind without needing a corpse to inhabit. She named me her new champion, said I had proven myself through deceit, through slaughter, through the willingness to sacrifice everything for power. The Ebony Mail was mine now, along with all the privileges and responsibilities that came with it. I asked her what those responsibilities were. She laughed and said, I would find out. Then the pain started. It felt like my chest was caving in, like something had reached through my ribcage and grabbed my heart in a fist made of ice and broken glass. I fell to my knees in the champion's blood, gasping for air that would not come. The world tilted sideways. The mine walls dissolved into smoke and shadow. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. Everything went black. When I opened my eyes again, I was not in the mine anymore. The sky above me was wrong. Not dark like night, but red like an infected wound, shot through with veins of black lightning that never quite struck the ground. Storm clouds roiled overhead in patterns that hurt to look at directly. Geometric shapes that twisted in ways that defied normal space. The air tasted like copper and ash and something else I could not name, something that made my stomach turn and my skin crawl. I was standing on stone, black volcanic rock that radiated heat through my boots. Around me stretched islands, 10 of them arranged in concentric rings, each connected by narrow bridges spanning lakes of molten lava. Attribution's share, Boethiah's realm in Oblivion, I understood immediately, with the kind of sick certainty that comes when your worst fears are confirmed. I had not survived. The sacrifice at the Sacellum had not been my friend's death. It had been mine. Everything after that, the fight with the cultists, the journey to Knife Point Ridge, killing the champion and claiming the Ebony Mail, all of it had been a lie, a hallucination, a final dream granted to the dying so they would not realize what was really happening. I had died on that pillar. My friend had killed me. Boethiah had twisted her hand, made her drive that ceremonial blade into my throat while I stood there smiling like an idiot, thinking I was the one in control. The Daedric Prince of Deceit had deceived me so completely that I did not even understand I was the sacrifice until it was. Too late. The memories came flooding back then, the real ones underneath the false narrative Boethiah had fed me. I remembered my friend's face as the priestess handed her the blade, the confusion in her eyes as the prince's voice spoke through her lips, making her say words she did not mean. The horror as her own hand moved without her permission, driving the knife forward while she screamed inside her own skull. I remembered dying, the cold spreading from my throat down through my chest, the way the world grew distant and soft around the edges, the moment when everything just stopped. And then I remembered waking up here, in this place of eternal storms and burning stone, with false memories packed into my head like a gift from a cruel god. A voice boomed across the islands, shaking the ground beneath my feet. Boethiah, speaking not through a corpse or inside my mind, but in the open air, loud enough that I felt it in my bones. She welcomed me to her tournament of 10 bloods, said I had been chosen to represent my race in her eternal games, to fight against champions from the other peoples of Tamriel until only one remained standing. The winner would earn her favour, perhaps even freedom, though she said that last word like it was a joke only she understood. Other figures materialised on the islands around me. 9 of them, 1 per island, each separated from the others by bridges and war gates wrought from Daedric metal. I could see them clearly, despite the distance. An Argonian woman with scales like polished jade, moving with the fluid grace of a river predator. A Breton man in mage's robes, already gathering frost around his fingertips. A Dunmer warrior who looked like she had been fighting in these arenas for centuries. A high elf so beautiful and cold she might have been carved from ice. More shapes in the distance, too far to make out clearly. We were all dead, every single one of us. Sacrificed by people we trusted, sent to this realm to kill each other over and over for Boethiah's entertainment. That was the prize for being chosen. Eternal combat in a place where death meant nothing because we were already dead, where pain was just another form of worship to a god who fed on suffering and betrayal. The first wargate opened with a sound like tearing metal. The Argonian came through fast, twin daggers in her hands, moving low to the ground like she intended to hamstring me before I could react. We fought. I do not remember all the details, just flashes of violence and the surprising realization that I could still die here, still feel pain, still bleed even though I was already a ghost wrapped in the memory of flesh. She cut me open from shoulder to hip. I put my sword through her throat. We both fell, blood mixing on the black stone. Then I woke up again, whole and unmarked, standing at the starting position. The Argonian was back on her island, alive again, waiting for the gate to open so we could do it all over. Boethiah's laughter rolled across the realm like thunder. That is how it works in Attribution's share. You fight, you die, you resurrect, you fight again. There is no escape, no end, just an eternal cycle of violence played out for the amusement of a Daedric prince who understands betrayal and murder better than any being in existence. Some of the champions I fought had been here for years, others for decades. The Dunmer warrior told me, in the brief moment before I killed her the first time, that she had been fighting in these arenas since before the Red Year, since before Morrowind burned and her people scattered across Tamriel. Centuries of death and resurrection and death again. If this story has kept you listening this far, and you want more of these dark confessions from Skyrim, hit that subscribe button. It tells me someone out there is still paying attention to warnings like these. I lost count of how many times I died in those first battles. The Breton burned me alive with fire spells, until my skin blackened and peeled. The High Elf put an arrow through my eye socket. The Dunmer took my head off with a single swing of her greatsword. Each time I woke up again, whole and ready for another round. Each time Boethiah watched from somewhere beyond the storm clouds and laughed. But here is the thing about eternal combat, about being forced to fight the same battles again and again with no hope of escape. You get better, you learn, the patterns become familiar, the fear burns away until all that is left is the violence itself, pure and clean and simple. I started winning more than I lost, started killing faster, cleaner, with less wasted motion, the other champions noticed. They began to fear me the way I had feared them at the beginning. And somewhere in the midst of all that death and resurrection, I saw something that made my blood run cold, even in this place of endless heat and violence. Through one of the Daedric portals that sometimes opened between the islands, I caught a glimpse of Skyrim, of the Sacellum of Boethiah and the pillar where I died. I saw my friend, my actual friend who had killed me on Boethiah's orders, wearing the Ebony Mail, my Ebony Mail, the armour I thought I had earned, the reward I had murdered for in the false memories the prince had given me. She was Boethiah's champion now, the real one, walking the world I had left behind, carrying out the prince's will, wearing the spoils of my betrayal like a badge of honor. If you have ever wondered what choice you would make in a situation like this, tell me in the comments. I will be reading them. Time moves differently in Oblivion. Days blur into weeks, blur into years, until the concept of duration loses all meaning. I stopped counting after what I think was the 100th resurrection, stopped trying to hold on to who I had been before the pillar. That person died when the blade opened his throat. What came back? What kept waking up on these burning islands to fight and die and fight again was something else entirely. The Tournament of 10 Bloods is not a tournament in any meaningful sense. There is no bracket, no progression toward a final victor. It is just a name Boethiah gives to the eternal slaughter, a pretty lie wrapped around the truth that we are meat for the grinder, entertainment for a bored god who has existed since before mortals learned to make fire. We fight because we have no choice. We die because that is what Boethiah wants. We resurrect because our suffering is not finished. I learned the other champions' names eventually, though names mean less here than they did in Skyrim. The Argonian was called Hides the Truth. The Breton went by Valence. The Dunmer, the one who had been here longest, called herself Sorrow in Ash. They all had stories like mine, trusted friends, ceremonial blades, false promises of power and glory. Boethiah collects betrayers, and the betrayed alike, makes no distinction between the wielder and the victim. In her eyes, we are all equally amusing. Hides the Truth told me once, between deaths, that she had been a member of the Thieves' Guild before she came here. Her partner had led her to the Sacellum, promised her a score worth enough gold to retire somewhere warm and safe. She laughed when she said it, a broken sound like shattering pottery. "There is no warm and safe," she said. "There is only the heat of the lava and the cold of resurrection and the endless stretch of violence between them." Valence had been a college mage, brilliant and ambitious. His mentor sacrificed him, wanted the Ebony Mail for research into Daedric enchantments. He spent his first few centuries here trying to find a spell that would break the cycle, let him escape back to Tamriel. He gave up eventually. Magic works differently in Attribution's share, bends to Boethiah's will instead of the caster's intent. Every spell becomes a weapon. Every incantation becomes a prayer to the prince who owns us. Sorrow in Ash barely spoke at all. She had been here so long that most of her memories had worn away like footprints in sand. She remembered dying, but not who killed her. Remembered her name, but not what it used to mean. She fought with the mechanical precision of someone who had done the same thing 10,000 times, every movement efficient and empty and perfect. I think part of her had actually died. Not just her body, but something deeper, the thing that makes a person more than just meat and reflex. I was terrified I would become her, eventually. The islands themselves changed sometimes, reshaping according to Boethiah's whims. New arenas would appear overnight, maze gardens with walls of twisted thorn and passages that led nowhere. Towers that stretched up into the storm clouds, their interiors filled with traps and ambush points. The lava seas would rise and fall, swallowing islands whole only to birth new ones from the molten rock. We learned to adapt, or we died screaming, though death here was never permanent. Just a brief interruption before the next round began. I saw things in Attribution's share that I do not have words to describe properly. Creatures that were not Daedra but not mortal either, things that existed in the spaces between categories. They would emerge from the lava sometimes, nightmares given form, and hunt us through the arenas. Hides the Truth mentioned being swallowed whole by something with too many mouths. I believed her. I had seen the scars on her when she resurrected, marks that should not exist because our bodies were supposed to return perfect and whole. Some wounds go deeper than flesh, but the worst part was not the fighting or the dying or even the endless resurrection. The worst part was the watching. Boethiah would sometimes open portals to Tamriel, show us what was happening in the world we left behind. We would see our killers walking free, wearing our rewards, living the lives we thought we had earned. My friend, the one who murdered me, I saw her complete contracts for the companions, saw her help defeat Alduin, saw her standing beside the Dragonborn like a hero while I rotted in this place, forgotten by everyone except the god who owned me. The hate grew in me like a sickness, not just for my friend, though I hated her plenty, not just for Boethiah, though I learned to hate her with an intensity that bordered on worship in its own twisted way. I hated myself most of all, for being stupid enough to read that book, for being arrogant enough to think I could bargain with a Daedric prince, for trusting someone in Skyrim, where trust is just another word for vulnerability and everyone is looking for an angle to exploit. Centuries passed. I think centuries passed. Could have been decades or millennia for all I knew. The storm never broke. The sky never cleared. We fought and died and resurrected and fought again, an endless wheel turning in the dark while Boethiah watched and laughed and occasionally whispered encouragement when the violence grew particularly creative. I became very good at killing. Better than good. I learned every weapon, every spell, every dirty trick that might give me an edge. Learned to read my opponents before they moved, to see the tells in their stance that telegraphed their next attack. Learned to hate efficiently, to channel rage into precision instead of wild fury. Sorrow in Ash told me something once, in one of her rare moments of speech. She said the tournament was not punishment, it was transformation. Boethiah was not trying to break us, she was trying to perfect us, grind away everything soft and weak until only the violent core remained. The best warriors, the ones who embraced the cycle instead of fighting it, sometimes earned their freedom, became champions in truth, sent back to Tamriel to serve the prince's purposes. She said this like it was supposed to comfort me, like serving Boethiah forever was better than serving her here. I asked her if she wanted to be sent back. She looked at me with eyes that had seen too much death to remember what hope felt like. No, she said, there is nothing back there worth returning to. The world moves on. The people you loved forget you or die themselves. Your enemies win. Your friends become strangers. Better to stay here where at least the rules are simple and the purpose is clear. But I did not believe her. I held on to the idea of escape the way a drowning man holds on to driftwood. Told myself that if I fought hard enough, became strong enough, Boethiah would release me. Let me return to Skyrim and settle accounts with the friend who had put a knife in my throat. I clung to that revenge like it was salvation, like the promise of violence to come was the only thing keeping me from dissolving into the same hollow shell that Sorrow in Ash had become. Then Boethiah spoke to me directly, for the first time since I arrived in Attribution's share. Her voice came not from the storm or the lava, but from inside my own skull, intimate and terrible. She said I had proven myself, said I had learned the lessons she meant to teach. Betrayal was not just an act but a state of being. Trust was a weapon. Love was a weakness to exploit. I had become exactly what she wanted, a perfect instrument of deceit and violence, honed by endless combat until nothing remained but the edge. She offered me a choice. Stay in Attribution's share and fight forever, or return to Tamriel as her champion. Hunt down Molag Bal's followers and disrupt his schemes, because the Daedric princes war among themselves, and Boethiah's enemy was my enemy now. In exchange, I would walk free, live again, have a second chance at the world I had lost. I asked what happened to my friend. What happened to the one who killed me and took the Ebony Mail? Boethiah laughed and said she had served her purpose, been discarded when a better champion came along. died in some cave fighting Draugr, alone and forgotten, stripped of the armour that was supposed to make her invincible. The Ebony Mail had returned to Boethiah's keeping, waiting for someone worthy to claim it again. I wanted to feel vindicated, wanted to feel like justice had been served, like my friend had gotten what she deserved. But all I felt was empty. She died, and I was still trapped. We were both victims of the same cruel joke, puppets dancing on strings we never saw until it was too late. I accepted Boethiah's offer. What else could I do? Spend eternity fighting shadows on burning islands, while the world forgot I ever existed? At least in Tamriel, I would have purpose, even if that purpose was violence in service to a Daedric prince. At least I would be free of this place. Boethiah pulled me from Attribution's share the same way you would pull a splinter from infected flesh. Sudden, painful, leaving a wound that would never quite heal right. I woke up back in Skyrim, lying in the snow outside the Sacellum of Boethiah, where I had died however many years ago. My body was whole. I was breathing. The sky was blue and clear and achingly beautiful after so long under that red storm. But I was not the same person who died on that pillar. That person was gone, burned away in the fires of Oblivion and resurrected as something harder and colder and infinitely more dangerous. I was Boethiah's champion now, her weapon, her chosen instrument of betrayal and murder. I wore the Ebony Mail again, its weight familiar across my shoulders, its poison cloak billowing around me like smoke from a funeral pyre. I stood in the snow and looked down at the valley below, at Skyrim stretching out vast and indifferent beneath the mountains. Somewhere down there, Molagbal's followers were planning whatever schemes the Lord of Domination wanted enacted. My job was to find them, infiltrate them, earn their trust, then put a knife in their backs when they least expected it. I started walking down the mountain, back toward the world of the living. The wind cut through my armour, but I barely felt it. I had known colder things in Attribution's share, known worse pains than winter could inflict. I was free now, released from the eternal tournament, given a second chance at life. But I will tell you the truth that Boethiah does not mention when she makes her offers. You never really leave Attribution's share, not completely. Part of you stays there forever, fighting and dying on those burning islands, watching the storm clouds roll overhead in patterns that defy comprehension. You carry it with you like a scar on your soul. Every time you close your eyes, you are back there. Every time you sleep, you wake up on that black stone ready for another round. I am Boethiah's champion. I walk among you. I smile and trade stories in taverns and accept contracts like any other sellsword. But I am not alive, not really. I am just a ghost wearing flesh, a weapon in the shape of a man, waiting for the moment when the Prince of Plots decides my service is finished and pulls me back to where I belong. If you ever find a book called Boethiah's Proving, burn it. Do not read the words. Do not follow the map to the Sacellum. Do not think you can bargain with Daedric princes and walk away whole. They do not offer rewards. They offer chains disguised as gifts. They do not want your service. They want to own you completely, body and soul, in this world and the next. I learned that lesson in Attribution Share. Now I am teaching it to you. Whether you listen is your choice. Just know that when you make your choice, Boethiah is watching. She is always watching. And she loves nothing more than watching mortals choose their own damnation while thinking they are reaching for salvation. The mountains remember my death, the pillar remembers my blood, and somewhere in Oblivion, 9 other champions are still fighting on those islands, dying and resurrecting and dying again, waiting for the day when Boethiah decides they have suffered enough to be useful. That day may never come, but they will keep fighting anyway, because in the end, that is all we know how to do.